Last week, there was this patron that I never really saw before, and I guess she brought her grandchildren to story time. She didn't really like know anybody. She just flat out asked me if I had cancer. She was like, "Oh, that's a nice scarf. Do you have cancer?" Like, because in my head I'm thinking, okay, I know I'm not the most social human being, but is that appropriate small talk? Hi, how are you? Nice scarf. Do you have cancer? And also, number two, that's none of your dang business. And it just felt weird just for someone to just be, just outwardly, just ask me that. It was just very strange. I was just like, no, I don't. And then I felt bad because I'm like, should I have cancer to wear a scarf? Like, should I not be wearing this scarf? It just freaked me out. So the very next day was Lego Club, and it's the same effing woman. Now she's like, so when you're at the library, what do you do? And in the back of my head, I'm like, here we go. I'm very funny about bringing in sources of income as small talk. I feel that there's only certain social situations I feel that it's appropriate to flat out ask someone what they do to bring in money and pay their rent, because that's basically what she was asking me. I'm very funny about it because once again, it's a situation where it is none of anybody's business how you pay your bills. People are very judgmental, and that's why I feel like there's only some social situations where I feel that it's appropriate to ask someone that. And it puts me in an awkward situation because no, I am not employed, and the only source of income I have is my disability from the Veteran Administration, which I had to basically choke out of them. And society is so ignorant. When I tell people I receive disability, they look at me like I'm an asshole. And I'm still right now trying to cultivate a polite way of saying that's none of your dang business. So back to the same woman who asked if I had cancer, said, what do you do when you're not volunteering? And I said, I was trying to try to get around the whole job thing. And I'm like, I'm not, it depends. She's like, you don't know what you're doing? And I said, well, I could be at the dog park. I could just be at home. She's like, so you don't work? How is this appropriate small talk, people? So I said, no, I'm disabled. Now, let me tell you something. I have received my chump change from Veteran Administration since 2010. Okay, I'm on paper considered disabled since 2009, but I didn't start receiving the money until 2010. So it's 6 years that I've been in the VA system as disabled, and in these 6 years, I have really not gotten too much BS from human beings who do not see something obvious. Usually, people get curious and try to, as gently as possible, ask me why I'm receiving disability from VA. I can appreciate the curiosity, and if I'm going to say I'm disabled, I need to expect that someone is going to say something. Usually, believe it or not, I don't get too much BS. People are very kind. Most people just leave it at that because because especially when you are in a town where there are active duty and that there are retirees, a lot of people are very respectful of that. When you say you're a disabled veteran, they don't even ask you any questions, and I appreciate that. This is the first time in the 7 years since I've discharged from the military that I've been offended. Okay, that says a lot. So the woman asked, so you don't work? I said, no, I'm disabled. Now, I didn't say that I was a disabled veteran. Okay, maybe I should have said that. But I said, no, I'm disabled. And she looks me up and down and she's like, yeah, okay. She couldn't have been any younger than 50. But that is the youngest she could have been. So we're talking 50s, 60s. Grown ass woman talking to me like that. Yeah, okay, you're disabled. And usually with working around kids and dealing with the public a lot, volunteering in the library, I have learned very well how to control my face. But at that moment, my face betrayed my emotions, and I was legitimately horrified that someone would allow the thoughts in their brain to come down to translate to their mouths. Because I know people think it every day. I know they're thinking it. But there's a difference between thinking and saying it. And my mouth dropped that this woman looked me up and down and said, yeah, okay. So when she saw my face, she said, well, you don't look disabled. I'm telling you right now, I'm telling everybody right now, don't you ever say that to somebody. You are better off asking what the person's disability is to quell your curiosity than to say something like that because you sound like an effing idiot. Disability does not have a look, okay? A disability is an illness or an injury or ailment that significantly impairs someone's life. So that does not mean that it has to be obvious to you. If someone could totally have a jacked up back to the point where they can only work a couple hours a week and they're receiving disability, you can't tell by looking at them that they are significantly impaired by their back injury. You can't even tell what they had for breakfast this morning. I no longer have empathy when people say things like that. I do not. I used to. I used to give people a pass because there are so many different invisible illnesses and invisible disabilities. But I don't give a pass anymore because it's common sense. It is common effing sense, society. It's common sense that there are going to be things that happen in a person's body that you can't effing see. If someone chooses to open up to you and reveal that they have a disability, and you open up your whore mouth and say, you don't look disabled, I want you to know for once and all that you sound like a goddamn lunatic. Okay? You don't have the right to say that unless you're 5 years old or mentally handicapped yourself. You just sound stupid as hell because you obviously aren't using the brain that the maker gave you. Common sense. You don't have to be a doctor. You don't have to have the laundry list of every form of disability that exists in the medical world. Common sense would tell you that that there are things that can happen to a person's body that you can't effing see. I mean, if you're going to share oxygen with other human beings, put some thought into it. This is the reason why people don't open up, by the way. Let's get something straight. It's not a situation where for decades and decades and decades, the only disabilities that existed was being blind or being deaf or missing a limb. And then all of a sudden, all these people started appearing with invisible disabilities. No. Invisible disabilities always existed. We just didn't talk about it because you weren't going to give us the same respect that you gave the person that was blind because I look normal. Now, in this day and age, we're talking about it more because we do deserve that respect. We do have legitimate illnesses and legitimate injuries. But it wasn't like this stuff just popped up. Thank you very much. But I shouldn't have to sit here and explain anything to you. Nobody should have to sit here and talk to you about this. No one. There shouldn't have to be a public service announcement. I shouldn't have to lecture anyone. I shouldn't have to bite my tongue when some grown-ass woman says, you don't look disabled. Because common effing sense should tell you stuff isn't always going to be obvious to you. And the idea The very idea that I can only call myself disabled if if it's obvious is ludicrous. The idea that someone has to visually approve my disability is bogus, and it makes you look like a damn fool. So when she said you don't look disabled, I said I'm a disabled veteran. And you can tell by that point she kind of like realized that she effed up, but you shouldn't have to say veteran. A disabled person is a disabled person. You're not more or less disabled because you're a veteran. This, whoo, this was what got me. I mean, I was already had the wind taken out of me by her first statement. This is what she said to me. She said, well, your disability doesn't show, so that's a good thing. Can someone please explain to me what in the sweet F that means? What does that mean? It doesn't show, so it's a good thing? Oh, I'm sorry. So now the person who's missing a leg is a leper? Now they're a scumbag? It's a good thing that you can't tell I'm disabled? Like, does she? I mean, am I the only one that sees the problem? Because she is not the only person that thinks this way. I may not get too many issues, but she is not the only person. And that is scary as hell. People, stop it. You will be judged. You will be judged. You could be the sweetest person on the planet. You could be saving animals and finding a cure for cancer. And you could have a rainbow tribe that you adopted. And you're donating all your money to the poor and working at a soup kitchen. But if you open your mouth and say, you don't look disabled, it's done. I've just judged your entire life. I'm prejudiced. I will be completely bigoted towards you because you opened your mouth and said that to me. So if you don't want to be judged, if you don't want to look like a complete dumb lunatic, don't say it. I don't have any empathy for you. It's common sense would tell you that what's coming in your mouth makes no freaking sense. We're in an age where resources are literally at our fingertips. There is no excuse for that kind of thinking. There's no excuse for that kind of social retardedness. There's no excuse anymore. Is the best way to ensure that I will never speak to you again is say something that stupid. Stop it. Seriously. Seriously. All the advances we've made as human beings, and you people cannot accept a concept so simple as sometimes people are disabled and it's not obvious. It's so effing simple. You don't have to be a genius. Just use your effing brain. It is not easy for people to admit that they have an invisible illness or invisible disability because of the stigma that comes from it. And if someone is open enough to take that step, just keep the judgment in your head and walk away and just smile and nod. Don't come out there and just with the nightmares and the foolishness coming out your mouth, because come on, I don't care what your religion is. I don't care if you're Christian, if you're Buddhist, if you're Odinist, whatever God you believe in gave you a mind that works better than that. You can do better than that. It's 2016. There's no excuse. Stop it. Just stop. These things are real. Just get over it. Get over it. Come on now. If you can't tell by looking at someone what their name is and how they like their eggs, how the hell can you discern whether or not someone has an illness or an injury that caused an impairment? Come on, grow up. Mature. Just grow up. Or just stay home. Come on now. With the internet now, you don't even have to leave the house. Just stay home. There is no excuse for ever uttering the words, you don't look disabled. And it is none of your business what their disability is. I understand being curious, but it's none of your business. And if the person decides they don't want to tell you what the disability is, that does not mean that they don't have one. It just means they don't want to talk about it. And have some social intelligence, have some emotional intelligence. Just think, just take a breath and think. I understand that some of you are lazy and you don't want to use your brain. It takes too much effort to be considerate of another human being because it takes time and effort and thinking. But if you really don't want to do it, don't take the step. Don't talk to anybody then. Just leave me alone. You don't have to talk to me. You really don't. You do not have to talk to me. So if you can't put the effort in, just leave me alone. I'm serious, guys. Dude, I'm sick of it. You see a person with a service dog just because they're not missing a leg, just because they don't have a freaking walking stick, that doesn't mean they don't have that dog for a reason. Just use your head, people. I'm done with this. The entire community of people who have invisible illness and invisible disabilities, we're done. We've been done a long time ago. But now it's just tragic. It's just tragic that a very large chunk of society hasn't figured it out yet. I know it's not all of you. I know it's not all of you, but it's it's more than it should be. There should only be like 2% of America that is socially dumb in this subject. It's way more than 2%. Stop.